Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids and we are in our 11th year homeschooling. Today I am going to be talking all about homeschooling during the holidays. Now this is an open collaboration with Rooted in Rest and the Waldock Way, and there is a playlist, so I will leave that link in the description box so that you can see everybody else and how everybody homeschools during the holidays. So let's get started. When I saw this topic for the open collaboration, I did have to chuckle a little bit because we are so different from most people when it comes to homeschooling during the holidays. The reason that I say that is because we actually take Thanksgiving through New Year's off every year. Now, this started when I was pregnant with my youngest child, Lucy, and she was due at the end of October, and I knew I had to have cesarean, so I knew that it was going to be a challenge for me to homeschool right after I had her. And so instead of starting at a normal time when most kids go back to school, at the end of August, beginning of September, we started early, and that was the beginning of our year-round homeschooling journey. It was when I was pregnant with Lucy and I realized that we just needed to get started early, otherwise we were not going to be able to finish our year. So that first year, it was amazing to take off all of that time around the holidays from homeschooling. Now, that did not mean that we stopped learning during that time, but it meant that we stopped our formal lessons and instead leaned much more on an interest-based model of homeschooling, interest-led based model of homeschooling. So after that first year of taking time off, I started doing some research and I found that there are other homeschoolers that take the month of December off, and it was validating for me to know that I was not the only person that just stopped homeschool during the holidays. So what we end up doing now is we do take off from Thanksgiving through New Year's, and we instead do projects, a lot more Christmas type homeschooling, and more fun learning in general. Now, as my kids have gotten older, I have questioned whether that will continue to work for us, especially now Emma is doing some high school level courses, and so was it going to be too much for her to take a big, 6-week break right in the middle of the homeschool year? And I think that it's actually going to be okay. The way that I have set up our year is the kids finish half of their math. They finish, they're about halfway through everything. So it is a good breaking point. For Emma's Spanish, she is going to be at the end of a chapter. She will have just taken her chapter test right before we have Thanksgiving. So I think that overall it's going to work. And the reason that it works is because we do start school so early. We start usually at the end of July, and it just works for us that way. Now, if we were not done with our first half of math, or if we were not at a good breaking point, then I would not feel as good about breaking for the holidays as I do. But I make it a point, and the kids know that they need to finish their first math book. This is how it used to be. We've used Singapore Math, the primary edition, US edition, for K through 6. So once they finish book A, they know that they have the holidays off. There have been a couple of years where my kids have not finished until like the first week in December, and that's okay, but everything else is usually finished. But this year, everybody is actually right on track, and actually Jack is he will be done with his second book, 6B, before the holidays this year, and we'll move most likely into pre-algebra in January. Because we are year-round, we tend to roll some of the subjects, so that's also something else. But what we end up doing in December is we move more towards fun handcrafts. We move towards interest-led. We are still doing schoolish things. We're still reading every day. I'm still doing read alouds. We are still working on projects, but my kids don't see it as school. I talked about this a little bit in my favorite homeschool books video. I want my kids to have a love of learning, and I want to give them the tools that they need to learn the things that they want. And so my kids don't always feel like they are doing school because they enjoy most of their education. The one place where they definitely feel like they are doing school is math, and that is probably the only place because everything else is much more enjoyable for them. They're good at math, but they don't necessarily enjoy it. So I do have a couple of resources that we use that I have gotten more recently. The first is this book, Holidays, Wild and Free. This is a lot of different handcrafts and ideas that you can do with your kids during the holiday season. That is a lot of fun. There's little articles and then lots of projects throughout this book that we really enjoy. And then I also use this book. She has everything broken down by month, and then she has a little essay and then little things that you can do during the month, during November and December. So little crafts that you can do and recipes that you can make. And this is something that we have used for many years just to give us something else to do. And I also have, actually, let me see if I can find it. And then I also have this book with all of my sticky notes, A Greener Christmas, which I got many, many years ago. This has all kinds of recipes in it and ideas on crafts that you can make, natural things that you can do that we have always really enjoyed using and doing during this time. It gives my kids just an opportunity to do something different. Now, academic-based learning is very important in our family. It's something that I want my kids to have experience with, but I also want them to have a lot of life skills and then a lot of, handcraft, recipe, project-based learning as well. These are a lot of fun activities to do, and they are still learning to make ornaments or sew or cook, bake, making homemade cards. All of that stuff is also really important to me, and it gives us a chance to just take a nice break from traditional learning for a little while, and I still find a lot of value in it, and my kids really enjoy it. And when we take this very large break during the holidays from our formal lessons, it gives us the energy to then be able to finish strong after the holidays. So what ends up happening for a lot of homeschoolers, and probably most parents in general, is that you get to February and you hit that February slump because you just want the year to be over. Now, a couple of ways that I combat that is by taking this big break during the holidays. It helps me power through. And then the other thing is looking at new curriculum for the next year. That always pulls me out of my slump. But I know that a lot of people do really hit a wall in February, March because it's so dark. We live in Maine. It is so dark in the winter up here. And we just, it's a struggle. But when we take all of that time off around the holidays from our formal lessons, when we start back in January again, we have so much more energy and we are rested and we are fulfilled in what we are doing. So we're able to really finish strong. And that is super important to me. It also allows us to sort of sit down and go through goal setting around the end of the year, right before the start of the new year. We do vision boards. My kids do vision boards in January every year. I have a video for that I will leave a link for if you're interested in seeing how we use vision boards as a tool for learning in our homeschool. So most of our homeschooling through the holidays is actually a big homeschool break for us. And it is something that works well for us. It's something that I do have to plan for. If you have not planned to take that time off, it can be a little bit of a struggle, but I do still think it's an opportunity. You know, you could take a couple of weeks off at Thanksgiving and then maybe do 2 weeks in December, and then take a couple more weeks off right through New Year's, so you are still getting some of your lessons done. But I guess what I want to say is that don't discount all of the other learning that happens during the holidays. I mean, my kids go all out on making presents for their siblings. They really enjoy making ornaments and baking and taking control of a lot of that stuff. They do a lot of making homemade cards for their friends. It's exciting to see them take the initiative to do something different. And when I give everybody permission to take a step back from the formal lessons that I have planned for the year, they have a lot more opportunity to implement some of those ideas that they have. And that is important to me. And then along with taking our big break from homeschooling, we spend a lot more time with Advent activities. We celebrate Advent in our home in preparation for Christmas, and it's something that we started doing several years ago, and it has made a big difference in our day. It is just a new rhythm for our days, lighting the candles at night and reading our Advent devotion and doing a little craft. All of that type of stuff is something that I find incredibly important for our family, just rhythms and traditions that my kids can expect and rely on. It's something that they really enjoy. We do Advent calendars. We have a lot of fun with it. It's a really wonderful time for us. And for me, it takes a lot of stress away because the holidays are super stressful. It's my favorite time of year, but because it's my favorite time of year, I have huge expectations, and that can be really stressful if I have a lot of expectations and things don't go as planned. And so this is one way to help my kids and myself just sort of feel and enjoy the season in real time instead of stressing about all of the things. And so that is kind of how we homeschool through the holidays. It's a little bit different. I know that most people, at least in my experience, most people just take off, a week at Christmas and, a week at Thanksgiving and just do school the rest of the time. But it is something that we have come to love over the years. My kids have a countdown right now. We have like 4 weeks left before we take our break. And so they are all in to finish their fall term strong. We have, some benchmarks to make sure that they finish, like I said, their math and some of their reading, and we will continue to do our NaNoWriMo writing right through November 30th, even though that's after Thanksgiving. So yeah, that is all of what we do for homeschooling through the holidays. I do have some Advent resources, which I will leave if you are interested in those in the description box. I don't have them with me at the moment because I didn't think to grab them before I started filming, but I will leave links for what we use for Advent in the description box. I would love to hear what you do in your homeschool around the holidays. Do you take a big break? Is this something that you've ever thought of doing, or do you feel like you could not take 6 weeks off right in the middle of the school year? I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.